welcome back. This is gonna be a little different than normal. Um, I shop at Five Below, and I came across these cute little playing card decks there. And when I got home and I looked at them, I was like, this would be really cool to let people know about. If you want to use them in readings, if you want to kind of incorporate some, like, for me, I would probably after a while put some Sharpie notes on them or whatever, but I'll still use them. But they were like $1, and I think that's really cool for people who are just starting to kind of be able to have options. I mean, you can spend money, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. Kind of start small and then build as you go. I say that because when I started, I jumped in and I was buying decks on top of decks on top of decks, trying to find my niche. Um, and I just could not. Only for me to get really worn out, really frustrated, and I ended up just kind of packing the decks away for a few years. And because I didn't know exactly what I was going for, I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I was just trying to find. I knew that I was, into decks and having decks. I just didn't know what type of decks I was into, or if I was into them, why I was into them, and what would I use them for. Because I don't want them collecting dust. And so I went through a hermit phase, I guess, or hibernation phase where I didn't want anything to do with um, any type of thing, tarot decks or whatever, because I just was not finding my place. It took a while, and then I realized that my niche is in more modern decks. I like oracles more. Tarot is cool. I adore oracle. Um, I don't like I don't like to, I'm not into the whole trend of jumping in it to make money like some are, using it as um, a play on people's emotions. So I don't appreciate that trend, but I do like the fact that there are some genuine people out there who are doing like deck reviews, who are being more vocal about the spiritual and tarot community, um, and allowing others to find their place in 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 that aspect. But I ended up gifting a lot of decks away, um, and replacing with what suited me more. Um, and also coming to terms that you don't use this to tell the future, because it doesn't. This is all about um, giving you direction, clarification, all that great stuff on your spiritual journey. So you can pretty much start anywhere with this. You know, um, you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. I did that and just was so confused at first. So I say, Five Below does tend to have some, pretty cool things that you can grab in there just to kind of get your feet wet. But these three decks jumped out to me. This one is not some, I would probably use it after I sit with it for a while, but I would probably pencil in what I want to pencil in. But what mostly draw me to this is I'm a plant and herbs person. So this is something I would use for my own learning, um, and my own, um, boosting my knowledge, learning more about the plants and herbs that I use for whatever the reasons that I use them. Um, but like I said, I would eventually probably create this for as a deck I would use in like healing. It would be a deck I would like I said, I would probably sharpie in some things on the cards based on what my intuition gives me. Kind of like how I did with my um, little handmade deck. I would just take this and sit with each card, and then my intuition gives me, I would sharpie in that those ideas. So let me set this to the side. I'm gonna do this one last. This is an affirmation. It was $1 affirmation playing cards deck. It's $1 from Five Below. Again, like I said, I would recommend this for people who are getting started, kind of just don't want to put too much in it because they're not really sure if it's what they want to do, but they're drawn to it for some reason. So these cards are basically affirmation cards, daily positive affirmations. So you can also use these in doing, card pulls for yourself, for others. Again, I would sit with these. And if my intuition is telling me to pencil in something else, then I would. But for the most part, you can't beat that for $1, or you can just have them to play with. Who knows? But I think it's pretty cool to have to start with, or not to start with, just to have in your collection. This one I picked up initially. This was the first deck I picked up when I seen it. I love crystals, and I was pretty intrigued by the fact that they were able, someone took the time to put crystals on a playing card deck. So I grabbed this one, and then these two kind of jumped out at me. This one you could use actually because it kind of does what a crystal deck would do. Like how this one says the diamond is purity, truth, and perfection, and agate is stability, grounding, and supportive. And it's really simple. It doesn't have too much, because you just got the words there. So if you're doing a reading, or if you're doing a reading on yourself, you shuffle this deck, you pull a few cards, and you may just need to, be tough as a diamond that day, or go and ground yourself, do something soothing, be optimistic about something. Sometimes less is more, if that makes sense. I've noticed with some decks, if they have too much going on, it triggers my my ADHD. So sometimes less is more, and I felt like this was really cool. If I could have bought a bunch, I would have and gifted them, but they didn't have many, and I didn't want to be a hog. I feel like if it's meant for me to buy more and gift more, then it'll be there when I go there again. But I really enjoy how this deck was made. It's a playing card deck, but it can also be used as a reading deck, the divination deck. And you have enough space to kind of sharpen in what your intuition is giving you. Kind of create your own deck, I mean, kind of, because it's already created, but you would just add to it. So if you have a Five Below near you and you're interested, definitely stop in. They have some pretty cool, unique things there that'll kind of get your intuition going. And the reason why I wanted to say that is because some people don't know where to start until you kind of want to let them know to kind of, start small. Start small and start where you're comfortable and then build from there. I can tell you that I didn't start getting a good bit of my decks until last year, only because I was looking for more inclusive decks. I am a person of color, if you didn't already know. I'm a person of color, so I wanted to see more people that look like me. And unfortunately, we live in a whitewashed world, so you don't see much of that. So I came on YouTube and I started like looking for different people to follow who were doing deck reviews. Readings were great, but I was so tired of readings. I just wanted to find more decks that looked like me that I could add and be able to offer. And so I was straying away from, the readings and just focusing more on catering to that need. And so I ran across a few people when I did have social media. I don't have it right now. When I did have social media, I actually joined a Black Girls Tarots group, where I met a young lady, Indigenous Rican Bruja, and found her YouTube channel, and it blessed me. And upon finding her YouTube channel, I was led to other YouTube channels of women of color, like Sparkle Divine Tarot and Robin's Reflections, and there's another one I believe, that I'm able to go and feel comfortable in that space and know that they're going to, give deck reviews of decks that are inclusive. Is that gonna always be the case? No, because not all my decks are inclusive, and that's fine because I'm not looking to have just only inclusive decks, but I do want some inclusive decks, because I want to see people that look like me. A black girl with locks and glasses and tattoos. um, and so yeah, and that's where what I've been doing lately. Of course, I've run across some decks that are not inclusive. They just have piqued my curiosity and pulled on my intuition, and yes, I do purchase them. And they're not always by somebody that looks like me, and that's totally fine because that's not my sole purpose to get a deck for. But I definitely want to be able to connect with the decks that I get. I want to be able to go at any point and pull a deck and say, okay, I can go ahead and give you a reading from this deck. So yeah, that's just a little backstory. I had over 100 decks at one point and just was not using any of them, till I realized what it was I was looking for. And I think my best example that may give you an idea of what draws me is the artwork. The artwork, and how modern it's portrayed. So one of my big famous, one of my not famous, but one of my one of my best decks right now. I don't use it much because it's my baby. Is the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. And I'm not gonna, and it's one of my favorites because I have a few of them I can pull out here and show you why I like it. But that deck and Crystal Banner decks, but they fall into two different brackets, and I'll explain that later. But the Everyday Enchantment deck, if you've ever seen it, it is a very modernized deck, so it gives you modern day situations, modern day scenarios, stuff you would see just every day. Not nothing against the Rider-Waite system because I think that's beautiful as well. That just does not appease me. That does not appeal to me, and so of course I had to find something um, that I connected with. And it was when I got that deck that I realized this is what I like. This is what I'm looking for. And then from that day forward, I was able to find and connect with other decks. Not all my decks have that modern feel, and that's fine. Some of them are not going to. They're not supposed to. But for the most part, because I know that's what I like and what I enjoy, I'm able to know when I see a deck if that deck is going to work for me. And in some cases, there's a deck that'll jump out to me that is not anywhere in the spectrum of what I like, but it's pulling at me and I gotta have it. And normally I'll find out the reason later as to why that deck had to be mine. But another deck that I enjoy is the Modern Love Tarot. You know, hence modern. So Fifth Street Tarot is one of my favorite decks as well. New York City Tarot is one of my decks as well. Now those, like I said, those decks don't fall under category. If you ask me about decks of people that look like me, then that's a whole nother story for another day because I have those as well. And not all of those are modern, but they look like me. So when I pull that deck and I read from that deck, I see somebody that look like me, and it makes me feel comfortable using that deck. So, but anyways, Five Below, for those who would like to check these out, they're only $1, and I think that's pretty cool to run across. So, but thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate you guys. I'll try to do more reviews like this. I just figured out how to do this little thingy, so I'll be doing a little bit more reviews like this. I'll probably be looking at some decks I already have. People probably already did reviews. I'm just going to do reviews because why not? But anyways, I appreciate you guys very much. So thank you for stopping by, and yeah, chat with me in the comments. Have a good day.